Things?
Yeah, good.
Good, yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, good. Good. Gearing up for a busy week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see the sun out.
Bob, hey my friend. Was it all that time you got? Thank you, my friend. Scrub up well. Thank you.
Yesterday was 98.
Yeah, it's mad.
It's great to see the sun shining, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, say goodbye to it though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Thursday's not too bad.
I think so. I think it's going to be showery once we get past this kind of rain overnight tonight.
Okay.
Classic summer. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. We'll make a start. I'm delighted to welcome the Olympic golf champion Justin Rose to the interview room. Justin, Royal Birkdale, this is obviously a place where you have very special memories. How much would it mean to you to go on and lift a claret jug this week?
Straight to it, huh? Yeah, obviously that's the dream. It's the one tournament that I've dreamed about since I was that young boy, and I think especially at Royal Birkdale is, you take an Open Championship anywhere, you take a major championship anywhere, but if they happen to line up at special venues, I feel fortunate that I was able to win a Merion because that club has a little something extra about it, and obviously for me here to do it at Royal Birkdale would be obviously a kind of a full circle moment based upon I guess sort of what I did in 1998. So yeah, it's a special venue and like you say, lots of good memories.
Okay, great. Well, we'll take questions from the floor. If you can raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you. David?
Justin, when you did what you did in 98, we would have thought it would have taken 20 months maybe for you to win the Open, not best part of 20 years. I mean, why is it you think that you haven't improved on the fourth you had that year?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, exactly. There's no real reason for it. It's disappointing. I think maybe the expectation for a number of years afterwards took its toll, coming back, trying to live up to it. I feel now, though, at this stage of my career, I've sort of somewhat proved that wasn't a flash in the pan, so I can come back to the Open a little bit freer than I could for a number of years. So I'm hoping that, I've had a few, I would say, outside chances of very good weeks that I haven't quite capitalized upon in the past. So, even though the record doesn't look good, I feel like Turnberry, was it 09 Turnberry? I felt actually that was a week I played great golf and felt like I had a chance. Muirfield 2002, an outside chance of doing very well. And then, but anyway, yeah, but obviously the record suggests that it hasn't been very good since, but I feel like I'm at a stage now where I can put all those past performances behind me and really focus on a good week.
Okay, next question, please.
I read somewhere that one of the first things that the other players do is check the draw to make sure they're not in the same side of the draw as you at an Open, meaning you've not exactly had the best of fortune with that. Have you looked at the forecast and your tee times and
well, when I was answering David's question, I was saying that to myself in my head, but chose not to say it.
I thought so. That's why I asked him.
But to be honest with you, this week the conditions are going to be rough. I'm really embracing it this year. I think that I've kind of looked at the draw and when it hasn't gone my way, focused too heavily upon that fact. And this week, going to just embrace whatever side of the draw I happen to be on and just compete to the best of my abilities given the situation. So we'll see what happens really. But yeah, I've decided that that's kind of going to be a non-issue going forward. But hopefully, if things even out, the next few years should be good.
Bob?
You ever marvel at what you did at age 17? I mean, think back and realize how much experience you now have and all the things you've gone through and think, how did I ever do that?
Yeah, and in some ways, I look back and I try to model it as well. Just the freedom I had that particular week, the confidence I had in my short game, the innocence in which I played the game, I think is kind of still a model. I think that when I play my best golf, I'm always trying to, get rid of things rather than add more thought, get rid of thoughts rather than add thoughts. And I think that when I look at my performance here when I was 17, it was very much just a free, I played with a lot of freedom and just, used my natural ability. And obviously I had things go my way too that week. So, but yeah, when I do look back at it, I do marvel at how I was able to compete so closely down the stretch and only, finish within 2 shots of winning an Open Championship at the age of 17. But I guess for me, it was a glimpse into what my potential is, and maybe the hard work since then will hopefully create another chance here or there. But I guess when your final shot is made into a Lego scene, as it was by somebody very creative, and that was the moment where you can show your children. My kids are 5 and 8, and my nephew's 3, and when you see them watch it and you see them impressed because it's now a Lego scene, that's kind of when you know that it was a cool achievement.
Steve, on the right, please.
Justin, the Open has produced the most older champions by far than any other major. Can you talk to maybe the reasons you think why this championship produces so many older champions?
Yeah, I've never really thought about it, and that's never been front and center in my mind that's what it's produced. But that makes a lot of sense to me. There's a lot of experience required to play links golf. I think it's a form of golf you can learn to love over the years. If it's not something that you feel immediately natural, it doesn't feel immediately natural. I think that you can learn to love it. And length of the golf course isn't really a big deal. I think the ball runs a long way, so the course can play relatively short. Obviously, it can play incredibly long as well, but that's given into the wind conditions. So if someone learns how to control their ball flight, they have just as much distance off the tee as a long hitter who hits it up in the air. So for me, creativity around the greens, but strategy as well, avoiding bunkers, great course management is incredibly important in an Open Championship, and maybe older players have learned that skill and have a bit more patience possibly.
Next question in the middle here, I think microphone number 4.
You mentioned innocence before at 17. Does that make it harder now in a sense, or maybe make it more difficult, given experiences and years and so forth in moments or weeks like this?
Yeah, if I understand your question, I think that the innocence was quickly taken away from me by missing all those cuts, and then the game became difficult, and then I tried really hard to live up to that achievement. But I feel like now I'm back to that situation in my career where, yes, I still have a lot to prove to myself, but I have a bit more freedom in which to do it. I'm not trying to prove myself to anybody other than myself, so I think that gives me the freedom to go out and play weeks like this a lot more comfortably than in years past.
Phil at the back.
Justin, quick question on the Lego thing. Where did you see that? Was that on social media? Who made you aware of that?
Yeah, Maka, my manager, kind of made me aware of it, and then we sort of, I think, retweeted it on Instagram. But yeah, it was kind of fun to see, and my kids watched it a couple times, and apparently my little nephew Billy was enamored with it. Yeah.
And just quickly, I believe you were at Wimbledon final on Sunday. It seems like you had some pretty close up, some good seats, and very close to Mr. Federer when he was celebrating afterwards. Can you just take any inspiration from what he's achieved, the style he achieves it in?
For sure. I mean, I think Roger's the one sort of sporting athlete that I look up to and can try and model. And I think, that everything he does is pretty much spot on. The way he handles himself, but the grace in which he plays the sport, I think, is incredible. Mentally, how he sort of doesn't give much away, I think, is a style that's well suited to golf too, I think. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted to go to Wimbledon. I went to watch his semi-final, and then I watched obviously the final. And yes, I'm watching the tennis, but I'm watching him more than anything, and seeing what I can pick up. And there are a few tricks here and there that you can kind of apply to golf. And I've always found it sometimes a bit easier to learn from other sportsmen than I have from golfers. Obviously you're trying to beat your competition here, whereas I can be completely impressed and in awe by him because I never have to face him. So it's kind of a much easier environment in which to learn, I think, when you don't have to compete against that person. So, but yeah, obviously the whole occasion in the Royal Box was just amazing. I worked hard last week, and it was the perfect kind of Sunday to take off to sort of enjoy a day before heading up here.
Derek?
Justin, given all you've achieved as a golfer since Birkdale, the fact that remains your best Open finish, what does the competitor in you feel about that? Is there a real sense of unfinished business?
Yeah, there's a sense. Yeah, it surprises me after all these years that is still the best finish. And yeah, because of that, yeah, unfinished business for sure. I don't want to say that if I don't win this, it's going to be a huge sort of hole in my career, but it was the one tournament that even before I finished fourth here as an amateur, I got to final qualifying at the age of 14 and created a bit of a story then. So it's definitely been a championship that I've had great moments in, and to win it would kind of close the book in a way on my Open Championship story. So yeah, it's one that, given your question, Steve, I've got plenty of years to try and tick off. There's no rush, but certainly, I'm into that. I'm into the do it now phase of my career. Yeah.
I'll go to the front here, number one, please.
What is it about the course and the area, Justin, that makes an Open at Birkdale special for you?
I just think the golf course itself, to be honest with you. I think obviously all the areas, all the seaside towns that we play in, they're all fantastic. They all have a great charm about them. But for me, the charm of this one is the golf course. I love it. I think it's the fairest links golf course we play. It rewards great golf. The bounce, the vagaries of the bounce are slightly less in play here than some other golf courses that we play. Some other ones in the rotation. So, but we really haven't played this course in good weather. Virtually everybody here hasn't played it in good weather. 98 wasn't great. 08 certainly wasn't great. This week might not be great. So I think because it's a fair golf course, I think it plays well in some tough conditions too. And looking forward to getting back out there.
Robin?
Justin, a few weeks ago you sat next to Hao Tong Lee at a dinner. It was Wentworth week, and you sat next to him at a dinner at Queenwood, and he was asking you about Birkdale and asking for some advice, if you remember. Can you recall any of the advice that you gave him that you can share with us?
No, it was a fun dinner. I mean, he really is a character, and enjoy his company, and he's obviously an incredible talent. But I can't remember what I'd have dished out, but it wouldn't have been the good stuff. I keep that to myself.
John?
Justin, after Augusta, you talked about that being the start of the meat of the season, and you were really looking forward to the next 6 or 8 weeks or whatever it was. So here we are, 5, 6 weeks or 8 weeks further on from there. Are you now where you want to be? Do you feel as fit and ready to go as you would like to be?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lull after Augusta, sort of a natural one because I didn't play a lot of golf, and then the US Open was the time that I wanted to start really ramping things up, but that week didn't really go according to plan, and then had 2 weeks off, I think, after the US Open, and one of those weeks was a holiday in Italy, and when I flew back to the UK after that, it really struck me that the hunger was back. And sometimes you just have to wait, sometimes you can't force it. There's a natural ebb and flow to things, and you can't have a peak without a valley, really, and you've got to enjoy kind of the momentum of both. When things aren't going well, you've got to accept it, keep working hard, and then obviously when things start to trend, you've got to make the most of them. So hopefully a couple of weeks ago in Ireland was the start of things turning around, and there was a lot of aspects of my game that I was really, really pleased about, and some aspects of my game that were poor and needed a lot of work, which I've been doing in this last week. So if things go according to plan, the good will stay good, and what was not great will improve, and it should lead to a good tournament.
Bob again.
Justin, I wonder if you could speak to what Rory's going through right now from the standpoint of injuries sort of getting in the way. You dealt with it a good little bit last year yourself and trying to manage them and the frustration of it all. I wonder if you have any thoughts on that, please.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're actually in the middle of the injury itself, it's not that frustrating because you have a process. You've got to be very diligent with your rehab, and you're a bit easier on yourself because of that. But then when you come out of the injury phase and you feel good, and you feel fresh, and you feel ready to play golf again, you somewhat expect your game to be there. But there's an element of just getting back to being tournament sharp, and you can hit as many balls on the range sometimes as you want, but there's something to be said for just being tournament sharp. So he's probably somewhere in the middle of that. I know he's playing a lot of golf right now, and although he's missed a couple of cuts, those might be the sort of competitive practices and runs that he needed just to start to get sharp again. And the one thing about Rory is as soon as you question him, he'll do something special and turn it all around. So, it's happened a few times in his career where people will say, oh, he's in a bit of a slump, and then, he'll win the FedEx Cup or he'll go on a bit of a tear. So certainly I never worry about him from that point of view.
I'll go just behind you.
Just a question on a specific issue, Justin. PGA Tour's obviously announced its plans to have blood testing. I just wondered if you thought that was A, necessary, and B, whether you think the European Tour should follow suit.
I don't think it's necessary, but it's also, I completely support it. I don't think there's a need for it. Like, we're not trying to change a culture or anything like that, and we're not trying to out anybody, because I think that the sport is incredibly clean. So, but also it's a sport that we want to be taken seriously. I think it's a sport that we all want to have regarded as an athletic sport. I think that the top players treat it as such. We all train hard, work hard, and believe that we are athletes. So to fall in line with other sports, if that's what's required, then I fully support it. And I don't really have too much of an opinion if the European Tour should go the same way or not. I think they're in charge of their own mandates.
On the left, please.
Justin, my question actually goes back to fitness and Federer. In his winner's speech afterwards, he actually spoke of it being a celebration of health, managing his schedule, being in peak physical fitness to perform at the right time. How important is that for you to win a major, and how hard do you work on that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he took obviously 6 months off and missed certain sections of the year in order to take advantage of his best opportunities, and that's obviously incredibly smart. For an aging athlete, you do run into more trouble than you don't quite have as much resilience potentially. So you need to be very diligent with your training. But I think recovery for me is what becomes the key. I focus much more on the recovery side now than I do I work hard on my fitness, but I don't necessarily front load things as much as I used to. But I tend to, on the back end, I work much harder on the recovery.
Okay, well, Justin, thank you for joining us this morning. Best of luck this week. Well played.
Thank you.